Windsor, the public hearing for fiscal year 21 budget. We'll get that up for everyone. Before I do, I want to just say that everybody's had a lot of opportunities to look at this, to discuss it. Town staff has just done an remarkable job putting this together, changing it midway because of the coronavirus and potential decrease in revenue. The budget is less than what is in our current year. There is no anticipated tax increase in our property taxes. But I want to thank Gary and Donna and Wayne for doing an unbelievable job putting this together. So with that, I will share the screen with the budget. If I can find it here. There we are. And Gary, if you'd like me to scroll down, you make comments, if you will. Gary?
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, so basically, this is the version you're seeing here is condensed in the actual number of columns, just to take all the prior years out, except for FY20, which is last year's budget. Very little has changed in the last couple reiterations. You can see at the top there, we have been using and have used in this a conservative number of new EDUs, houses coming online for the next fiscal year, with the uncertainty of what the economy is going to be doing and such. The main source of that new EDUs in the upcoming year is Snyder Summit. We did reach out to the developer, Paul Muller, and he was comfortable. He thought it was pretty confident there to use the 6 EDUs as a calculation. So you'll see that show up in your. That's a big part of the enterprise fund revenues. But everything else really. We've tweaked it here and there a little bit, but nothing really major. So I'm not going to go line for line down through here unless somebody has a question or has any specific questions about any particular line items. So.
And just for clarification, this budget, which we have named 3A1, because we have 4 different options, includes a new public works employee and raises for the employees.
That's correct.
I will recommend that we adopt this budget later in the meeting. Open for discussion or questions for the council.
If I can add, Neal,
Sure.
You've already touched on this, but the budget that you see here before you that was introduced and approved at the May 6th council meeting. It's like I said, it's based on conservative revenue projections, not only with the EDUs, but in property tax and real estate and other sources of revenues. Also, this budget, like you said, is balanced, does not propose a tax increase, property tax increase. And the budget is specifically 3.24% lower than the current FY20 budget, which equates to $68,767. So I just wanted to add that we've done, like you said, a lot of significant amount of hard work went in by the town staff to prepare the various versions and work this last several months in getting us to this point. The staff is fully supports the adoption of the 3A1 budget as introduced and approved. Thanks.
Council. Comments, questions?
Well, Mayor Roop, I don't know if this is the time to talk about this or later on, you can just tell me, but you know, I know that there was some concerns about the new position and the raises. So I reached out, and of course, the new position is for Public Works. So I reached out to Wayne Myers, who's of course, in charge of Public Works, to sort of get an idea of how things are going. And he shared a lot of concerns with me, some very specific, some more general, like things with the water system, like things like, and we know that we've had this problem because we've got a couple of repairs to do in the last year. When they go in to do some work, they can't get the valves to work. He shared that the hydrants haven't been flushed since 2009, which, you know, that's certainly a concern. And then, you know, just sort of some general things that he comes to work, or the staff come to work every day and they feel like they don't have enough time every single day to get stuff done because there's just so much to do. And he went into some more detail. So, the water treatment plant, just to remind everybody, is coming up on what, 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that. So it's not our new treatment plant anymore. And it's starting to have
operation 2011, I believe, April.
Yeah, so it's 9 years old. So, and then he also, pointed out that that he had spoken with some of the other council members, and I don't know if Councilman Palsgrove talked to them or not, but I know that Councilman Palsgrove has got a lot of background in public works himself because he pretty much managed the campus of the Brethren Center for a long time, and I know he's very conservative financially as well. So I feel like if he is in support of that we need to make these changes, then, I think that, we've got somebody there who knows what he's talking about because he's done that job. So, I did not have any concerns about the changes in the Public Works Department before we had the last meeting, but I did want to do a little bit of research, and after talking to Mr. Myers, I feel really comfortable with these changes. And in fact, I'm really going to be really concerned if we can't make them. Actually, I'm a little bit worried about some of the maintenance issues getting worse.
Thank you for reaching out to Wayne.
Sure. He does a great job. All of our staff do a great job.
So this is Councilman Smith. I also met with Wayne and Alan. I wanted to speak to all the employees. I haven't had a chance to get into the office. I'm not quite sure when they're there, and I really don't want to invade their space with everything that's going on with the pandemic. But I was able to speak to Wayne and Alan in an outdoor setting and spoke with him for quite some time. And he shared the same concerns that I'm sure he shared with Councilperson Schultz. And I agree with him. I agree with everything that he said. I understand that he's basically playing catch up to try to learn the things that we lost with Jack, and that could take years and years to even come close. So I understand that. I also understand and agree with him that there's a need for another public works position. I fully understand and agree with that, given the fact that we have lost such a valuable employee, and also that we are limited on what we have with our part-time employee also. So I understood all that. I understood his concerns, and I will go on record once again as saying I fully support the idea of our employees getting pay raises. I know what they make. I know what when you do a cost comparison across the board where they're at. So I fully understand that. My objection to the budget, and it was myself and Councilman Green, who is not with us tonight due to some bad news in his family that he's dealing with. But our concern seemed to be the same, that the timing of it, with everything that's happening, with not knowing where funding is going to be cut off, or if everything's going to be fully funded by the state and by the county. So my concern was timing. And I understood after, and then Michelle actually kind of confirmed that we could always submit a supplemental budget at some time to add those things back in. So I still have those same concerns. I obviously, with the governor's announcement today that we're moving on to phase 2, which is, I think, far ahead of where they had anticipated it, my concerns are less. But I still oppose those decisions for that reason, and that reason only. Certainly not because of merit. Like I said, I value our employees. I definitely value Wayne's opinion. In fact, I referred to him as Jack Code second, because he's slowly getting there. And he admitted himself that that's shoes that he possibly could never fill, but I think he's doing a bang up job. But I still oppose it for those sole reasons. It's not something that I'm opposing because I don't think anybody deserves it or it's the wrong way to go. My only objection to it is the timing of it. And I don't know if it's going to be a good time anytime soon with everything that's going on, but that's my objections. And I just wanted to go on record because I haven't had a chance to speak to the office staff and to Gary and to Donna and to Kalina. But I did speak to Public Works, and Wayne was very educational as to some of the things that he's done. And let me tell you, in case, and I'm sure the councilmen or council persons and the mayor know this probably better than me even, but there are things that Wayne does that you don't ever hear about, and it saves the town a ton of money. And he filled me in on some of those things, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate Wayne, and I appreciate Alan, I appreciate the staff. But I will say that I still object or I oppose that part of the budget at this time. And thank you for listening. Thank you.
This is Councilman Palsgrove. Ed, I appreciate you sharing those concerns, and I think we all have some of those concerns in the backs of our minds, or maybe in the front of our minds. And this is a tough decision for the town to make. As we've all observed, we're in unprecedented times. We're going to wear out that phrase, but it fits. So let's put it where it needs to be. I guess where I come out on this is, Ed, I understand your concern about timing, and I guess my position is about timing as well. And basically where I come out is this is a time in which we need the town as a supplier of services to our citizens, one of the most basic, or if I would say the most basic, of water and sewer services to our residents, and also the other services that are provided by our public works crew. I think the town needs to be in a position where we're really stoking up and we're really bracing for what could possibly get worse. And so I'm kind of the opinion that the timing drives me to think we've got to really be prepared, which means we've got to give our staff the resources that they need in order to keep the town in a good position. We're in a great position, I feel, already, but we may be challenged even further. And I feel like, as I shared last time, that the hiring of another full-time person in public works, in my mind, is just really a realignment of some of what's already happening, in the fact that we lost a part-time position in Jack Co, and this full-time position partially replaces that. And also, we have a part-time employee on public works staff now who we don't know how much longer he might be with us. And I just feel like we need to align things so that we're still in a position of strength within our public works department.
Councilman Hoffman here. Thank you, council members, for speaking your piece on that. And though I will not say the same things you all have, though they're all valid and good reasons. You know that I have been a strong advocate for the Public Works Department and for giving the resources necessary to, including pay raises, to all our employees. And I particularly agree with the thoughts that Council Member Palsgrove said that I think it's imperative now more than ever that we supply the services to our town residents. I think they're going to need them more than ever. I think to be able to do that, we need to resource our employees more than ever. And so with that, I'll leave it there.
And I don't want to give false hope, but I don't know if anybody has been watching what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the HEROES Act. And that will give funding, if it passes, and it should be brought up hopefully by the end of the month. And that will come directly, to my understanding, to the municipalities. And we'll know more about that as we go into the month of June. But I think we will be in a real good position. However, there's no guarantee. But knowing that the history, recent history of the Congress working together, I think they've passed 4 packages now to help the economy, to help the Americans that are struggling. And now I believe they are going to address helping the municipalities, counties, and state for potential lost revenue. I've talked briefly to Congressman Raskin's office, and I'm just feeling a lot better than I was a week ago. I'll put it that way for the budget. So I don't want to, like, again, give false hope, but I think there will be financial assistance for all municipalities.
Neal,
yes,
Neal, if I may, I'd like to thank all the council members. I respect and understand everybody's point of view. I really appreciate you all reaching out to Public Works guys. I understand, your intent was also to talk with town staff. We're in pretty much every day. We're back. I'll touch on this later, but we're back to our regular work hours, even though the town hall's still closed to the public. So feel free to call or just, even stop by and knock, or, Clean can see the door whenever. But I appreciate you doing that. I think that's important. What I will say is I feel confident about what we're approving here, but also want to say that it wouldn't be, it's only prudent leadership that would be to move forward cautiously and see how things work out here in the first couple months of the budget. So we will do that. We will look at the revenues and see how things are working and how the revenues are coming in and monitor that closely. So I just wanted to add that. Thanks.
thank you. And all council members, I appreciate you reaching out to our staff. Not only does it give you more information and better information of what they actually are doing, but it's also a show of appreciation that you care and that you're looking out for them as an elected official should. So again, thank you. Any residents have any questions? All right, seeing none. Do I hear a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make the motion that we close the hearing.
That was Councilman Ed Palsgrove.
Correct.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
That was Councilwoman Schultz, seconding to close the hearing, public hearing for fiscal year 21 budget. Councilman Hoffman. Approve?
Aye.
Councilman Palsgrove.
Aye.
Councilwoman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. Now called to order the town council meeting for June 3rd for the town of New Windsor. If everyone would rise and join with me in the pledge of allegiance. Don't get in the way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know how many people are worried, or that I am anyway, that I'll forget a word or two. And don't tell me you all don't have that same fear by yourself, because I don't hear any of you. But anyway, as Councilman Smith alluded to earlier, Councilman Green is unable to attend because of a family emergency situation. And he was planning on attending by Zoom, but he's on his way to Baltimore. So just ask that we keep Councilman Green and his family in our thoughts and prayers. Our meetings are recorded electronically through Zoom right now. They are on a cloud, and I will email the meeting to Donna as soon as I get that, probably later this evening. We go by an agenda. Anyone wishing to have something on the agenda for council discussion should have had it to Town Hall the previous Wednesday by 3 o'clock. Approval of minutes from May 6, 2020 Town Council meeting. They have been emailed out. Does anybody want to see them? Share them with anybody? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Hoffman, to approve the minutes from the May 6, 2020 Town Council meeting. Go by roll call again. Councilman Hoffman.
Aye.
Councilman Palsgrove.
Aye.
Councilwoman Schultz.
Aye.
And Councilman Smith.
Aye.
All right, approved. Mayor's report. Find my report, here we are. All right, not a lot written down, but it's been a busy month, just like everybody else probably in these trying times. The Carroll County Chamber of Commerce had a very good go-to webinar. It was very informational. Meeting with Council Vice President Palsgrove to discuss some things about the budget. And we had on May 25th a sewer main blockage at Atlee Ridge, which I'm not going to steal Councilman Palsgrove thunder because he has quite a speech, I'm sure, on that. I will just say the grease and the wipes down the pipes are still a problem. But thank goodness that quick action by Wayne and Fogels to come out, unclogged it. It was just an unbelievable amount of grease and rags and wipes. So Councilman Palsgrove, again, will touch on that a little bit more. And I know Gary is going to have a few words about how to handle emergencies with water and sewer. So I'll let Gary handle that in a little bit. Attended Planning Commission meeting on the 26th. And May 29th, I had a phone conversation with Julie Taggan, Chief of Staff for Representative Jamie Raskin. As I said before, the HEROES Act, that's something that's very important. I would put that on your radar to check. The House has proposed legislation, and now the Senate, I talked to on a conference call, I guess on last week, last Thursday, I think, with the county commissioners, the mayors, and U.S. Senator Ben Cardin. And he mentioned that about the House having introduced the HEROES Act, and that it would be funding for municipalities, counties, and states. And at the end of the conversation, I asked him to explain a little bit more about that. And the bottom line is the House has already put some numbers together. It's going to go over to the Senate. He said they hopefully would have started working on their version Monday, this the 1st, and hopefully within 5 weeks that a bill is passed for financial aid for us. So there'll be a lot more on that. Weekly Zoom meetings with fellow mayors. We're taking a break this week because we have a lot of town council meetings. But one meeting we had County Commissioners Wance and Rothstein on, thanking them for all their efforts and representing us in Annapolis, trying to get things open. We're still not where we need to be or want to be, but I think Governor Hogan's doing an outstanding job. There's always going to be people that like and don't like decisions that elected officials make, and we're included in that category. Another evening last week, we had Senator Reedy, Delegate Shoemaker, and Kettleman, due to the fact that Delegate Kettleman represents Sykesville. And it was a very informational meeting. We also let them know that we still want the HUR funding not to be cut unequally among other things that are going to be cut probably. And then also the program open space. We want to see that continued funding. Multiple meetings and correspondence with town manager and staff. That's been, seems like almost a bi-weekly thing now. But keeping in touch with them is extremely important right now. A lot of correspondence with our local businesses. They seem to be doing okay. Of course, they want to see open up full speed, but hopefully in another couple of weeks, if numbers keep going down, that will soon happen. Coordination for congratulations to graduate sign. I want to thank Kalina for taking care of that for me, and that sign came in today. So hopefully Wayne and Alan will have time in the next day or two to put those two signs up. One will be at 201 Main Street, and the other one will be up at Main Street Park. And I'm going to probably post something on Facebook for the seniors, high school, college, to have their picture taken and maybe a little bio of what they did in school and what their plans for the future are. Just to give them a little recognition. That's a small thing that we can do. And then of course the pop-up parks, I'm not sure how much they were used over the last weekend. But it was something that Mount Airy Mayor Pat Rockenberg had brought up at one of our Zoom meetings. And I thought, well, maybe this will help our restaurants a little bit to provide outdoor seating for them. And that was helped with New Windsor Lions Club providing picnic tables out of the pavilion. So hopefully that gets used a little bit. And then also want to thank the Lions Club for donating $300 for 2 categories for the sidewalk coloring contest that's going on as of Monday. We've gotten some entries already. So take a look around town. Across from the street from me, there was a really nice time-consuming artwork on the sidewalk. And then next to it, which said, I got a little lazy from my first painting. So it wasn't quite as good as the other one, but take a walk around town and take a look at them. So, and then I also want to thank Wayne again for getting all the trash cans, the 10 of the Lions Club trash cans up to 201 Park, where the Lions Club today put decals on the trash cans, but Wayne took all the old decals off, washed them and bleached them, and they're ready to go back around town now. So we'll be putting, I put 1 decal on each of the cans, and when we get more decals, I'll put on all 4 sides. So I want to thank Wayne and the Lions Club again for helping me with that. All right, enough of me talking. Was that enough? Anybody have any questions about my report? All right. Community enhancement, Councilman Green has said is not here. Public Works, Councilman Hoffman.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So you already heard a sneak peek, but I'm going to announce the Public Works staff is back to work full time. So I'm very happy about that, and I know they are as well. Last month, though, they spent a long time working to keep up with the mowing, just like probably most of us did on our own yards. They have a lot of mowing to do, and considering how they were working, it took a lot to keep up with that. Sure, you'll hear more about other things they have been doing in the water and sewer, so you'll hear that later. As I reported last month, yard waste is in high demand. Residents have been using this service more than ever this year. So while our residents have been staying home, They've obviously been cleaning up and taking care of the yard work around there. So it's a great thing. And Public Works crew has been there taking away those bags in bulk. So lots of yard waste. Moving on to the Planning Committee, we did meet in May. The main topic discussed was the site plan for the proposed crematorium. The town zoning administrator ruled that the crematorium was an accessory use of the current funeral home, and the Planning Committee agreed with that. There was a fairly large crowd in attendance at our Zoom meeting. I believe there was 51 folks, and I know at least several of the town council members and mayor were present on that call as well. Just to give you a little, some of the things that went on there, the Hartzlers and their legal representative answered many questions from the Planning Committee and the town residents. The residents' questions revolved mainly around exposure and property value. They were really, the more vocal ones were really looking for a guarantee that they would not have problems with emissions, mercury emissions from the crematorium, and that the crematorium itself would not cause their property value to decrease. There was a lot of discussion and a lot of information and facts thrown out. Unfortunately, no one can give a guarantee that property values will not go down, although it was thought that it would not. That really does not necessarily take care of the residents' concerns. However, their concerns we did talk about, and I think that all in all, the plans are in line with our zoning codes. And so as it turned out, in the end of the meeting, the Planning Committee did approve the site plan for the crematorium. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have about that. But that, in a nutshell, that's kind of what went on at that meeting. And that's all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing about Public Works, Councilman Hoffman, I know there's been some comments on social media about no bulk trash. And the main concern, well, there was several concerns on Public Works behalf that they might not be able to keep the 6 feet distancing from individuals. And normally our Public Works guys go up and above the call of duty and help unload. Now there's been comments that, well, if they got it into the pickup truck or into the car trunk, that they could get it out and off the truck with there. However, with our current situation in the dumpsters, there was a liability issue of people possibly throwing something into the dumpster and unfortunately slipping, tripping, going in with the dump into the dumpster and causing harm to themselves. So it wasn't that, we didn't have trust in the people picking stuff up, that was not the issue, but it was our employee safety and citizen safety. So until things get a little bit freer for employees to assist residents, that will probably not happen until, whether we do it later in the summer if things open up or not again until October. But I just wanted to clarify that we weren't doing it just not to do it, that there was good sound thought behind it and safety, again, for our employees and for our residents. And, it's a benefit to the residents, number one. It's not a guarantee that we have to do it. So it's, something we've been doing for years, twice a year. And right now, hopefully people can understand that it may just have to, I have several things in my patio that are waiting until it's time, but it was a safety issue, not just a convenience issue.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll add on that subject that I know we've heard it before, but just as a reminder, our town residents did receive coupons with their tax bill for the town dump that they can get a discount. And they are set to run out, I believe, the end of June. So if they have not used that, that is an opportunity to save a few dollars to take it to the county landfill and get rid of some of that junk that they had around. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Councilman Smith. Just to tag on to the landfill, let everybody know the landfill is up and running at full speed now in the regular hours. So if for people that were afraid that they would go there, they'd be closed. They're not. They're up and running. So that, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, and maybe Councilman Hoffman can answer this, maybe not. I was going to ask that, have it added on to the work session coming up. But back to the citizens' concerns about the crematorium, and let me go on record to say that I'm not opposed to the crematorium. I'm sort of neutral in that. I just want to know better about the process. So the planning commission obviously did what the only thing they could do. They were there to approve the site plans. The zoning administrator had made his ruling, and I understood that, and I understood that was his area of the responsibility, and then it passes on to the planning commission. That's your area of responsibility. But maybe somebody can answer this. If a citizen has, not specific to the crematorium, but in any issue where they have a concern about whether it's an ecological concern or property value concern, at what part of the process should they bring that up and be heard? And maybe that's something that maybe town doesn't have that capacity, but maybe if you're bringing up concerns at a time when it's not the appropriate time, or under the people that have no bearing in that decision, the planning commission, obviously, I mean, people could talk about property values all day long. That's not what the planning commission was there for, and I totally understand that. When is the proper time for somebody to bring up areas of concern like that?
Councilman, can I
Sure thing.
get myself here just
Thank
a
you.
little bit? With my traditional lawyer answer, it depends. In a circumstance involving zoning, a decision as to whether a use should be an authorized use or a use that is okay with conditions, that is done at the creation or the amending of the zoning code itself. Because once something is in the zone, once it's in the ordinance, depending on the category it's in the ordinance, that directs the rest of the steps. Some things are conditional uses. They have to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals before they could get to the Planning Commission. And there's a whole body of law as to what has to be shown at the Board of Zoning Appeals level. So there's multiple steps, but it really depends on what the issue is as to when in the process it gets addressed. Now, and again, not to be specific, but you have a zoning code that's been in place and modified for many, many, many years. So there are historically different times where decisions were made. And things like accessory uses can change over time, because an accessory use is considered by the law to be customary and incidental. That's the phrase in the case law and the phrase in your code. And what those things are can also change over time, which is why zoning decisions change over time. If this had been a conditional use, there would have been a completely different hearing before a completely different body. I don't know that I answered your question, other than to say there's a lot of different times. And it's also possible for the legislative body to change things that are already in the code, but then that has other legal ramifications. Because if you change a zoning use and you say that XYZ use, restaurant is no longer going to be a permitted use in your village center, for example, that doesn't mean that the restaurants there have to close, because they're grandfathered in, if you will, as non-conforming uses, which is another whole different body of law. Zoning law is arcane. That's really the best word for it. But there's a lot of different times when input is possible. And if there's sentiment to change existing zoning, that would come back then before the legislative body to see if there's going to be a change, and if so, what it's going to be.
Okay, so I guess my concern is, and I don't want to belabor the point here. We can, I'll ask for it to be put on to the agenda for the work session. But it seems to me that even in this case, and I think it'd be real hard to argue that it's not an accessory use, a crematorium and a funeral home. I guess at one point they would have been conflicting business, because you did a funeral or you did a cremation, and now you do cremations and you still have services and all that. So I totally get that. But I think when it's something like that, people do have those concerns. They need to be heard. There needs to be an avenue for them to be heard, and that needs to be taken into consideration with the appropriate body. And unfortunately, it got dumped on the Planning Commission, because that was the first. I guess that was the first that the public kind of knew about it at large and joined in. And I think their hands were tied. I think the Planning Commission's hands were tied, because that's not what they were there for. And I respect the fact that they stuck to what they were supposed to do and the only thing they could do. But I just think that there needs to be some avenue for citizens to be able to do that. And again, I'll ask for it to be put on the agenda at the work session. Maybe we can discuss it further. But I appreciate and I respect your sort of explanation as to the arcane laws of zoning, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
But as to Michelle alluded, 2-3 years ago, I wanted something changed in our ordinance or added, and I approached Councilman Hoffman about the short-term rental units. And that then had the process. The Planning Commission looked at it, and then we voted on it, and now it's in our ordinances. I know the public probably doesn't pay attention to our meetings and our minutes, but council had almost 2 years to make any changes from when Hartzer's first approached the Planning Commission.
Don't do it.
So, but anyway, we knew what they wanted to do, and it's an accessory. So, but now, and then also, I believe the Hartzers will have to have a public hearing with MDE. That's my understanding. So there will be time to discuss more. All right. Water and Sewer, Councilman Palsgrove.
Well, Mayor, you did steal my thunder and give my report already, so.
Not all.
Okay. It was Thursday, May 28th at about 8:30 p.m. that I received a call about raw sewage coming up in the middle of Atlee Avenue, out there in the development. And Mayor Roop and I arrived on the scene, and very shortly thereafter, Public Works Director Wayne Myers, who made all the appropriate contacts to get Vogels out there with first a pumper truck to pump out one of the manholes to alleviate the water that was being released at that time. And then later a jetter truck to come out and unclog. There was a pipe between a manhole in Atlee Ridge Avenue and the wet well at the Atlee Ridge pump station that was clogged. And the water was not getting from the main lateral over to the pump station. It was probably less than 100 feet. It didn't take very long for the jetter truck to open that up. And when that happened, Wayne and I witnessed a very large volume of chunks of grease falling into the wet well that had been lodged in that pipe. So we know this is an ongoing problem. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. And to try to work at this, I talked with Public Works Director Myers, and I believe we're going to try to create a door hanger leaflet that will be distributed to the residents of Atlee Ridge, probably going out before or during the meter reading that will be coming up at the end of this month. And I crafted or put some verbiage together and sent it on to Wayne and to Gary to look over and edit and add to. And maybe Wayne can add some pictures to this, which will make it very graphic to show how ugly this situation gets. And we just need to educate the public out there about what a problem this is. That incident on Thursday night cost us over $3,000. And we've had several of those over the past several years. And we've got to find a way to stop this. That's my report.
Very good. I didn't steal it all.
Okay, we can share it.
All right. Public safety, Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will defer to the deputy for all the numbers, but I want to address something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is what is taking place within law enforcement around the world. And I know we're just, I just represent the small municipality of New Windsor, and thank God we have not seen some of the issues that we see nationwide. The county obviously has not. I think if you want to see exactly how the vast majority of law enforcement officials feel about what had occurred, the only thing you need to do is read our Sheriff Jim DeWeese's comments about it. As a former a law enforcement officer, well, I guess a current law enforcement officer, but a former police officer, I will tell you that what we witnessed in that video is a murder. Forget about talking about degrees, first degree, second degree, third degree, whatever you want to call it. But what we witnessed in that video is a murder. I know of no law enforcement officer, not former, not present, not friend or foe, that condones what was witnessed. That was a vile video that was disturbing to the nth degree. And it was very difficult to watch it all the way through. With that being said, I also fully believe with all of my heart and soul, because I would not be doing what I'm doing, in our Constitution. And our Constitution allows for peaceful protest and for times to let the public and the government know how you feel. I witnessed yesterday down in the Westminster Library, there was a peaceful protest there, and they were respectful. I defend their right to be there, whether I agree with the message or not. And they did it in a respectful, decent, rightful, and lawful way. This county has not seen what some of the bigger cities have seen, thank God. And I believe that we're prepared to handle that if it does occur, but I don't think it's going to. And I don't think it's going to because of the caliber of the citizens that live here, black, white, or otherwise. If anybody watched the video and wasn't disgusted, then shame on them. But I can tell you that some of the stuff that we're seeing, that message is getting lost. The violence that is occurring, the property damage, the theft, the absolute outward attacks on innocent victims, and the attacks and murders of police officers that had nothing to do with it, that would never do anything like you witnessed, is absolutely despicable. The saddest part about it is, for the first time that I can remember, a video emerges, some evidence emerges, and everybody is on the same side. Everybody is listening to the same exact thing, and everybody fully believes that that was wrong. Nobody is defending it. No law enforcement officer I know, no private citizen that I know is defending what they saw. And and everybody's on the same side. And it's a golden opportunity to bring sides together so everybody can be heard and change can come about. It's the only way it can happen. Unfortunately, with what's happening, it is drowning out that message, and it is destroying what could be our golden opportunity. It is not honoring the victim in this. It is not honoring his family. It is not honoring the memory of Dr. King. It's not honoring the memory of the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that fought for freedom and for civil rights in this country. And I just want to say that I'm proud of our citizens, of this county, of our municipality, for not demonstrating the way that we're seeing the outward lawlessness that we're seeing. And I hope that we continue to do that. But our message is very clear, and it came very clear from the leader of our law enforcement agency, Sheriff Jim DeWeese, that it will not be tolerated, not from the criminals, And the behavior that we witnessed in that video will not be tolerated by his administration, by any of his deputies. And I think that we as citizens in this county should be very proud of our sheriff's department, all the allied law enforcement agencies, the state police, and the professional way in which they handle themselves. Now, I'll get off my soapbox and just say, may God continue to bless town of Windsor, Carroll County, the state of Maryland, and the United States of America. And also, with that being said, I'll get on to my regular part of this, and that is to say that law enforcement is at full speed right now. For the past couple months, they have been told to kind of back off of proactive traffic enforcement for obvious reasons. It's not the case anymore. They're back, and there's more cars on the road now because things are opening back up. We're seeing an increase in accidents. I listen to the calls every day. Reckless drivers and whatnot, speeders. Be assured that that's going to stop soon too, because we got to get things back to a normal pace. So be very careful out there. If you do see something, report it. Same way in our town. If you see something, report it. Our deputy is back, and he's taking care of our town again. And he's back in the saddle, as they say. And so continue to be safe, continue to look out for one another. And with that, I'll return everything over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, and good words. I echo your words. And then also just to let you know that, I think because of previous demonstrations in Baltimore City, things are completely different in Baltimore City because of what they went through a couple years ago. They're doing them peacefully. And also here in Carroll County, I know some of the other mayors that have police departments. I think it was Hampstead that they had about a 3-mile parade of cars and fire trucks, I guess, over in Hampstead for graduation recognition. And there was police officers involved with that, and they were getting thumbs up and applause from the residents. So it's good to see that the police department and law enforcement officers are still respected. We don't see that on the news a lot, but again, thank you for your words, Councilman. Economic Development, Councilwoman Schultz.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to remind everyone to keep supporting our local eateries. I'm going to go ahead and list them all in no particular order, probably try to stick to alphabetical. So we have Bellisimo's, we have Frankie's Bar and Grill, we have Lone Star Barbecue, and we have Uncle Mattie's. And I've checked in with all of them, and they all are happy for all the takeout business that they're getting. I want to thank Mayor Roop for the idea, or stealing, I guess, the idea for the pop-up. So if those of you who haven't noticed that, we've got picnic benches up in several spots in town, and the mayor posted something on Facebook about that. So the weather's getting nice. Let's all get some food and go sit outside and support our eateries. I just want to mention one business that some people probably forget that we have in town, and that's our bed and breakfast. And I believe that they can be back open again, but I'm sure their big event stuff is limited. So I just want to remind everybody that they do special small events. I saw a post on their Facebook page, Seasons at Magnolia Manor is the name of it, that they did a private anniversary dinner for somebody recently. And they have their own catering company, which is called Taste of Life Catering, and they do give a discount for New Windsor residents. So just wanted to give a little plug for them. And I keep getting information from the state and from the Chamber of Commerce about programs that help small businesses. So I'm continuing to forward that and follow the federal stimulus money that the mayor was talking about. I just want to segue, Mayor, if I can have your permission, off slightly a little bit, because following up on what Councilman Smith was just talking about, with this being a difficult time, one of the things that I've always enjoyed about living in a small town is the relationships and the people, and the fact that folks care about each other. And I'm just going to make a plea, and I don't know if anybody will be able to hear this or abide by it, but when folks post stuff on the Facebook page, if we could try to be not be accusatory and inflammatory. I understand that, you know, as elected officials, appointed officials, staff, we're going to make decisions that folks don't like. But I like what the mayor said a few minutes ago, that there's always good sound thought that goes in. And just because we disagree with each other, that doesn't mean anybody's bad or that anybody doesn't care. And I would just sort of like to plead, could we just be a little bit kinder to each other on our own town social media page, even if we forcefully disagree with each other. There's no reason for making it sound like people are deliberately doing things to hurt the town, because I don't think anybody in this body or amongst our staff or amongst our appointed officials are trying to do anything but the best for the. So that's my soapbox for tonight.
Thank you very much. You have my approval. Go ahead.
That's it, done.
All right, community deputy.
Evening. The Sheriff's Office, between the dates of May 1st through May 31st, responded to 70 calls for service within the town limits. Out of those 70 calls for service, 9 required reports, which were the following. And it looks like it's popping up now. There we go. On May 3rd, at approximately 1:35 in the morning, deputies responded to the 100 block of Main Street in reference to a domestic in progress. Upon arrival, it was learned that several family members got into a verbal argument which turned physical over child custody. 2 of the victims were transported to Carroll Hospital Center for treatment. All parties were referred to the District Court Commissioner's Office to file their own charges. The case remains open. On May 20th, at approximately 20:45 or 8:45 p.m., deputies, while conducting traffic enforcement in the area of Maryland 31 and Slingoff Lane, observed a moving violation. Vehicle was stopped, and it was discovered that the driver's driving privilege in Maryland was currently suspended. Driver was released on the appropriate paperwork and to a valid driver. Case was closed by arrest. On May 20th, at approximately 10:11 p.m., deputies, while conducting traffic enforcement in the area of Maryland 31 and Slingoff Lane, observed a moving violation. Upon contacting the driver, an odor of marijuana was detected from the vehicle, which led to a probable cause search. The search led to the possession of less than 10 grams of marijuana. And
Sorry.
That's all right. And the driver was released on the appropriate paperwork. Case was closed. On May 26th at approximately 10:20 p.m., deputies responded to the 100 block of Main Street in reference to a domestic in progress. Upon arrival, it was learned that several family members got into a physical altercation over their living arrangements and alcohol. All parties were referred to the District Court Commissioner's Office to file their own charges. Case still remains open. On May 27th at approximately 7:37 p.m., deputies responded to the 28 block of Carlisle Drive, reference to assisting the fire department with a cardiac arrest. The patient was later declared deceased by medics on scene. Patient had several medical issues and no signs of foul play were observed. Case was closed. At approximately 5:12 a.m., deputies responded to the 100 block of Church Street in reference to a 2-year-old child who was found alone roaming the streets. It was later learned that the was from the 100 block of Main Street. Child Protective Services was contacted and is currently investigating the case. Case has been since closed. On May 29th, at approximately 2:06 p.m., deputies responded to the 2800 block of New Windsor Road in reference to a late reported theft. Investigation revealed that unknown suspect removed items from the store without paying for them. Suspect was later identified with the help of Tawnytown Police Department, and charges were and the suspect was charged with theft less than $100. Case remains open pending the service of paperwork. On May 31st at approximately 7:01 p.m., deputies, while patrolling in the 1200 block of Joe Actor Place, noticed that an unregistered vehicle was parked along the street. Vehicle was in the process of being towed. However, the vehicle owner removed the vehicle from the street prior to it being towed. Case was closed. On May 31st, at approximately 3:55 p.m., deputies, while patrolling in the 100 block of Main Street, were summoned by a resident who reported to have been bitten twice by the neighbor's dog over the past few days. Animal report was completed and case was closed. Just a couple other notes that I didn't add to the report, but first one, Maryland Midland has approached us and about kids walking the tracks and swimming in the swimming holes and jumping off the bridges. Please don't do that. It's trespassing and they are truly pushing for enforcement. So if we catch you, we're going to give you a warning the first time. The second time, you will be charged accordingly. Secondly, as of May 28th, which was Thursday of last week, I've been officially reinstated back to the towns of New Windsor and Union Bridge. So you will be seeing me once again in traffic, like Councilman Smith said, is in full force. So please obey the speed limits and all traffic control devices and so on. And thirdly, I have been riding my bicycle over in Union Bridge because we have seen an uptick of out-of-towners coming in to walk the walking trails and that kind of stuff. I have actually been pushing or making contact with the out-of-towners and pushing the Butterfly Trail and Atlee Ridge. So hopefully that will push some citizens or the out-of-towners to come in and support the local businesses in New Windsor as well. Other than that, that's all I have.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
West Carroll Rec Council, I don't see anybody. Fire Chief, I don't have a report. Town Manager. Let's see here.
Okay. This should be fairly brief. A lot of this stuff was already touched on, so I'll just give a quick summary. The Town Hall and Public Works staff is back as of June 1st, Monday this week, to regular work schedules. Social distancing will still be used as much as possible. With the few office staff that we have in Public Works, mainly working either downstairs or outside, and the spaciousness of the new Town Hall, staff can easily social distance there. Town Hall will remain closed to the public until further notice. And this is in line with what the other Carroll County municipalities are currently doing. Things are starting to loosen up, and we'll probably reevaluate the end of June, and as in terms of opening Public Hall back to the public. The other thing has been thing on my list was already touched upon. So again, Wayne and Public Works have been dealing with a multitude of water and sewer related issues. The sewer backup in Atlee Ridge was discussed. I won't belabor that point, other than the fact that it was cold. What the cause was grease, rags, and wipes. And the sewer backup cost the town and its taxpayers $2,800, and that was just for Fogel services. So Councilman Palsgrove was right on there with the cost when you include town staff. Also want to thank, Neal mentioned the quick response of Wayne and Fogel's, but also want to thank and mention Neal's and Councilman Palsgrove's quick response in helping that situation as well. We talked, touched on the fact we're going to be doing a door flyer to be distributed in Atlee Ridge prior to the meter reading at the end of the month. Ed, I got that your email today and have a few minor suggestions. I'll get that to you tomorrow or Friday, so we can get that printed and ready for distribution. And then just the best way to report a water and sewer problem is to call Town Hall. The message will get forwarded to Director of Public Works Myers during regular work hours as well as after hours. So social media is not the best way to report it. So please call, and as been mentioned before, if you see something say something that really helps us out in getting to and responding to the problems as quickly as possible. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you. Treasurer's report, Donna.
Good evening, everyone. Short and sweet this evening. Just that we are at the end of our 11th month in our fiscal year 20 budget, and happy to report that right now on our profit and loss statements, the general fund and the enterprise are both in good shape. The real property report, there's 12 properties for sale and 1 in a foreclosure. And as of the end of May, I have not received any additional special requests for water bill payments. So we do have another 30 days left in this payment cycle. So I'll continue to update you. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Donna. Lehigh update. It's not really an update, but just in case you get a resident that adjoins the Lehigh property, letters were sent out. It's a process every 5 years that the Lehigh has to send out, and they're not making any changes to blasting or acquiring production. It's just something they have to do every 5 years. So just in case anybody questions you. Old business, any old business? New business? Fiscal year 2021 budget adoption. Any last comments? If there are none, do I hear a motion to adopt fiscal year 21 budget?
I'll make the motion to adopt fiscal year 21 budget version 3A-1.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Councilman Hoffman, seconded by Councilman Palsgrove to adopt fiscal year 21 budget 3A1. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Well, I mean, let's go back just for Donna's sake, help her with minutes. Councilman Hoffman.
Aye.
Councilman Palsgrove.
Aye.
Councilwoman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
No.
Vote passes 3-1. Thank you, everybody, again. No parking signs on College Avenue. As you know, in the specs, in the plans was for a yellow line, center line, and parking spaces, and no parking on the one side. Now, as you've seen, there is an issue with parking on both sides. Now, either we allow parking on both sides. I thought we had discussed that at a previous town council meeting or work session that we would have parking on both sides. However, the lines are on, and your thoughts to this. I don't know if anybody is going up and down College to see whether or not they need more time to discuss, to take a little better look at it. I know Brian probably wants to weigh in on it. Or not.
Well, I'm sorry. I sent a picture when it was May 20th when I was cruising through town. There is an issue at the lower end of College at rather than 75 or Green Valley Road, where 2 residents are parking on the southbound side of College, which if people have to pass, they have to get into the other lane, which if anybody pulling off of Green Valley Road, it's going to cause a head-on collision. I did send a photo to Councilman Smith and also Town Manager Dye, just with our concerns. That night, I actually had 3 deputies and a supervisor looking through the law books to see what we could find. Unfortunately, the best solution is to post a sign because we could not find anything, and we spent an hour and a half looking through the law book to try to figure out how to deal with this problem. So that's just my 2 cents.
Neal,
Yes, sir.
Just elaborate, give it a little bit more information. I wasn't town manager when that project started in the early discussions of the parking. So I'm not privy to that. I know that I understand there was some discussions about that early on. What I can share with you is what is on the plans. The plans now is striping on both the one side of College as well as the one side of Blue Ridge. That has been, the striping for the parking has been painted. That is kind of a separate issue, but along with the no parking sign. So it's a good thing that it's dedicated area for on-street parking on those sides of the road. The plans call on the typical sections for the road of the plans. They show this parking and designate the parking on those sides of both roads. There also is a signage and striping plan in the approved plans that do call for no parking signs on the, I guess it's going to be it's going to get confusing because I'm going to refer to the north side of College, which is the southbound travel lane, and the west side of Blue Ridge, which is the east side travel direction. So it does call for one sign on Blue Ridge and two signs on College. As Brian alluded to, that at the intersection with College and Green Valley Road, there is a bump out there, so that road width narrows at that point. So it does create some concern if the residents at 302 and 304 are parking in front of their homes and vehicles coming around down College and someone turning in off of Green Valley would risk a collision there. One solution that I'll throw out there, it's another option, I guess, is we could post a no parking from here to corner sign. And basically where that would go is between 304 and 306, let's call it the property line between those two properties, and have there be no parking from that point to the corner of College towards the intersection of Green Valley. That way residents could park above that on College. And if we don't want to post the sign on Blue Ridge, there's not as much issue or concern there with collisions at the intersection or on Blue Ridge, at least in my opinion. Also, from my recollection, I've walked that street probably 100 times in the last year. 304 College, I believe, is the only property that does not have a driveway that provides off-street parking. If we were to go this route and not have them park, from that point down, they would still have the option of parking in the designated spots on the opposite side of the road, as well as above the sign there. 302 does have off-street parking driveway. So that's just another option to consider. So I just wanted to add that.
Is everybody familiar with this, or do you need another 2 weeks until the work session to make a decision?
So let me, if I could, I got the picture from Deputy Closey, and it's clear that there's not room for parking on both sides. But and I don't know how many, I think he sent it to myself and Gary. But if you were to look at it, there's clearly a problem from where Town Manager Dye had suggested to the corner. That's a clear problem. The problem that extends further up is pretty much the same type of situation that you have on Church Street. You're going to be moving over past the center of the street to get there, to get where you're going, and people are going to have to be kind to one another. But from I think it's 3 or 4 down to the corner is clearly just a tragedy waiting to happen. I would personally like to drive it one more time now that it's complete. I've driven through there. I've visited people there, but just off the top of my head, I'd like to go there and focus specifically on that, unless it's something that deputy feels needs to be done immediately. And I could certainly support the idea of no parking from 3 or 4 down to the corner. If everybody feels they want to do that, I would like to see it one more time, but if everybody else feels comfortable with putting the signs up now, I'm okay with that as well.
Hey, Neal, I don't know if you have the email, but I just sent you that photo if you want to pull that up. Your email if you have access.
That's going to be an issue.
Okay, no problem.
I mean, I'd have to get out of all this, and there's probably a way.
No issues. And looking at
Wait a minute.
Google
Okay, hey, I think you can share it.
I can.
I think.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, you can. You should be able to. I think everybody probably has the gist. There it is.
Ed's holding up his phone.
I can, as soon as I get it downloaded off my other computer, I'll show it. Give me a second.
All right. But the difference, there's a huge difference, as Ed said, about Church Street. Yeah, there's certain places that you have to slow down, depending whether or not, what part of Church Street you're on. But the thing, thankfully, with College Avenue and Blue Ridge, there's not the traffic that goes up and down like Church Street. So that's, I lived there quite a few years, and there was always parking on both sides. I'd just like to see parking on both sides personally, but if you think it's safer without parking on both sides, I can live with that. But most everything on College and Blue Ridge that happened, we notified the residents. So, and maybe, depending on the length from 302 to 304, whether or not we could get one parking space for 304. Because 302 has off-street parking.
I'm not worried about the cars passing because, like you said, Church Street is like that, but that corner is a concern. So,
right.
I think that we might have to go with the no parking to corner area and maybe just try to deal with it that way, because it isn't, I mean, I walk on that road every morning. It's not a crazy road for traffic.
If you could see where that red van was at, that clearly is the problem. I think that's right around 302. So if you took it from 304 down, I think that's only affecting maybe 2 or 3 parking spaces, if I'm correct. And like you said, the one has off-street parking.
Right.
Yeah, it would affect the other. It's not like you're going to walk a mile. You're talking about either parking across the street or, a little bit further up the street.
So it looks like the no parking, from corner to that point, like Gary suggested, it sounds like maybe the best way to handle it right now. Leave parking on both sides of the street. We have it designed so the fire equipment can still get up there based with parking on both sides. So if that's the only issue, that seems to be a viable solution for that.
All right, how about everybody tries to take a look at it and see what they think, and Gary or Brian or Wayne or somebody, if you can get measurements and what the minimum amount from no parking to corner or something is. I don't know whether there is a requirement or not, but just to see what the distance is, and we'll make a decision at the town work session. Good?
Yep.
But try to make a point to get out there and take a look at it. All right. Any other new business? Residents' concerns. I really miss town hall. All right, I have a few announcements. Summer sidewalk coloring contest is still going on. as I said before, walk around town, take a look. We are getting some pictures emailed in. The pop-up parks support our local business, as Councilwoman Schultz alluded to, and go out and keep your 6 feet distance unless it's a family. And then no alcohol on town property. New Windsor Lions Club Red Cross Blood Drive is Thursday, June 18th, 2 to 7:30 p.m. And that's 2 weeks from tomorrow at the community meeting room where we used to have our town council meetings. So I know you know where that location is. And they are taking all kinds of precautions, wiping everything down, disinfecting everything, keeping the distancing. So it's a safe environment, but blood is a huge need at this time. So please support the Lions Club and the Red Cross on June 18th. The only other thing, you know, depending on how fast things move with the state and phases and everything, you know, we possibly, but right now we'll just plan on our work session being a Zoom meeting. But if we can get back into town hall, you know, I'd like to see us get back to town hall. I know Zoom meeting has its advantages, but I like that face-to-face connection that we have. So anybody have any other announcements?
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion? The governor announced today that we're going to phase 2 starting 5 o'clock on Friday. Is there any way of maybe possibly posting on our town website what that all entails? There's a lot of confusion as to what's open because it's going to open up a lot of businesses, but it's also going to keep some closed. So if there's any way maybe we can post that.
Yeah, usually Kim will do that, but I just text the mayors earlier, and everybody was a little all over the place as well. So some of them had exactly what it was. So as soon as Kim gets it, she's pretty active on that, and she'll post it.
I got the email from the governor's office today, so I'll go ahead and post that. But honestly, I think they need to give a lot more detail even beyond what they're given, but it'll be a start. So I'll go ahead and post that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And once restaurants can go back to 100%, I don't think that'll be an issue of clarity. I think everybody in the state of Maryland will be jumping up and down. So again, I appreciate everybody's opinions. I'm glad we aren't all just nodding our heads yes. Everybody is coming to the table with their ideas and their vision of making New Windsor a better place in which to live and continuing our great services that our public works provides for the residents. And we're not always going to agree, but at the end of the day, I think we're all doing what's best for the town of New Windsor. Again, a special thanks to Gary, Donna, and Wayne for working tremendously long hours and multiple times. We had 4 different versions of the budget. You know, most budgets aren't going to please everybody, but it's a reduction, and our tax rate is the same, and it'll be ready for fiscal year 21. So with that, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Schultz, second by Councilman Smith. I'm just going to say a show of hands and eyes. That's good. All in favor? It passes. All right. That adjourns our meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.